Welcome to Bridging Gaps, the business podcast sharing the challenges and stories of fellow business owners.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Deborah Levitt. Today, I'm in conversation with Richard Dwyer. Richard is an award-winning multiple business owner, investor, franchiser, mentor, TEDx speaker, and someone who strongly believes in helping humans to be super confident. Richard and I had a really long chat just before Christmas last year, and as a result, I've split our conversation into 2 episodes. Please join me now in welcoming Richard to the show. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Deborah.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much for, inviting me over to do the recording here with you, which is really great to do it face to face.
You're welcome.
So I wanted to find out initially just a little bit about your 2 companies. So you've got Kidz Impact and Flair, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeedy. Kidz Impact and Flair Gymnastics.
So do you want to just tell us a little bit about each of those companies and what they are, how long they've been around?
Sure thing. So Flair Gymnastics, we've just celebrated our 20th year.
That's amazing.
It is 1998 through till 2018. So we just did a celebration 20 years. We've been celebrating all year really, but it's
Of
like
course.
the end of the year and it's like 20 years. It's a bit of a big milestone. So started that one. It's a gymnastics and trampolining school with free running as well for kids. And we've got 5 schools. We started in 1998 out of a primary school in Sunbury on Thames. Which was my old primary school when I was a kid, and I was 21 at the time. And started that from humble beginnings with just about sort of 15, 20 kids, a few mats, a couple of vaults, and taught kids gymnastics. Because that was my background with gymnastics. And we've grown. We're 20 years old. September was the official birthday. And that's company number 1. Been going for 20 years, well established. Doing really well and growing and lots of growth plans. And then Kidz Impact is a brand new sort of 4 or 5 months old. It's a sports license for gym owners where they can license our kids program. It's a strength and conditioning kids program, and they can license our lesson plans and structures and syllabus and training into gyms like CrossFit gyms, and we're actually pitching it towards the big gym chains as well. We've got interest from overseas in the US with a distributor over there as well. So we've got big plans for that. And that was Kidz Impact was a company that was thought about by a former employee who was a gymnastics coach for me back in about 1999-2000. She was her name is Emma Suckling, and she was a former junior European gymnastics champion. Okay. And one of my coaches, I used to train with her when I did gymnastics in my teens, and she approached me probably 6 to 8 months ago and said, been following the journey of Flair ever since. She used to coach for us, and then she went off and studied at university and went off and got a real proper job in the corporate world. And we sort of reconnected 8 months ago. And she said, I've been following what Flair's been doing. Love it. It's great. It's brilliant. I've got this idea. And she'd got into the world of CrossFit and weightlifting. And she wanted to create a kids program for it, and was coaching kids in at her CrossFit gym. And had experience through coaching gymnastics but didn't know how to monetize the idea. So I thought, well, I know how to. I'd love to get involved in some capacity. So we created a company together, and we just sold our first few licenses, and we're still building stuff, but we've got a great online portal for gym owners to be able to tap into. They get weekly lesson plans and structure. They get coaching, training, get support with their DBS clearances and their child protection and welfare policies. We support them with all of that. They have our templates for everything. And it's a license that they buy, and they get a training package along with it and marketing support. And then there's merchandise behind it as well that we're putting together for the parents and kids. When the kids move up a level, they get awards, badges, certificates, t-shirts. A bit like a martial arts grading, where when you move up a level,
you go up a belt level or something.
And so that's in a nutshell. I can dive into whatever detail we want to go into, but I'm very excited about it because it's so congruent with what we do at Flair Gymnastics, which is all about building confident kids. So that's our main thing.
And that's what I was going to say. So I remember when you and I spoke before that you are just such a strong advocate of building kids' confidence and helping to support them, which is, well, to me, it just feels so important because these days, what we tend to hear about is the lack of confidence in children, the anxiety, the mental health problems, and there just seems to be so much of that about. And if we can nip it in the bud and help them to be stronger and mentally and physically, it's just so important.
Definitely. We forget the mind-body connection, and it's like, we're not just teaching the sporting skills. We are very much about the child as a whole, the emotional development and their mental capacity and confidence. It underpins everything in life. In my opinion, confidence is key. So Flair Gymnastics is all about building confident kids. Kidz Impact is about building healthy habits for life. So both brands are very congruent. And I wasn't a naturally confident kid. So I've been there and known what it's like not to be confident. I'm a natural introvert. I'm not a very extrovert person. I can turn it on when I need to because I've had training in that. So my background was gymnastics from about the age of 4, which is what got me interested in gymnastics. But I did like musical theatre, acting, performing, and Mum put me into a drama club. And I did a bit of acting as a kid, went on to join an agency, did TV commercials, bits of TV and theatre as a child, singing and dancing. And that got my sort of performance side of things ignited. And it was one day when I was in the gymnastics and I was training at the age of 10. I was probably doing about 12 hours a week, which is quite a lot for a 10-year-old. I was competing for the southeast of England, became southeast champion for 6 years in my teens, and I met some guys that were stuntmen that were training. They were working on a movie called Judge Dredd, Sylvester Stallone movie, and they were in the gym keeping fit whilst they were filming because the gym was in Woking, in Surrey, and they were training. The movie was at Shepperton Film Studio, so it was quite near. And they were in training. I was like looking at these guys thinking, wow, these guys are cool. And I got chatting to them, and I was like 14, 15. And they said, well, you could do this. You've got the background. This is what you do. I was like, well, you know what? And that was that sparked an interest. And I actually became, long story short, I became at the time, the UK's youngest registered stuntman for TV and film. I was 21 and I actually went from school and went to a circus school. So I did study performing arts and circus. So I did that. That was to train to become a stuntman. There's different things back then that you had to do to join the British TV and Film Stunt Register. That's no longer so. There's many routes into doing TV and film stunt work now. But back then, in sort of the year 2000, 2001, it was like you had to do different things to join.
So how did you... So going from that, sort of being very much an introvert and yet doing all of these things that required you to put on a performance, was that, as you said, a mental shift? Because I have actually heard this about, this is just things I've heard. I don't know if it's factual or not, but that a lot of actors are actually quite introverted and quite, almost shy, and that the acting is the way that they, get out of themselves. And so how did you find that I'm out here, I'm competing, which means I'm visible, I'm on show, I'm in, theater, I'm in drama, doing all of these things, being very visible, and yet my instinct is to be very quiet and introverted. How did that work?
Gymnastics taught me to be able to push myself out of my comfort zone, and it was only through coming out of my comfort zone time and time and time again as a kid, through the coaches and the support network and my mum, to push me out of my comfort zone. And that taught me to deal with fear and to realize that because if you ask any actor or rock star or someone that goes onto stage and really loves what they're doing, and another good example, you ask an athlete, you see it at the Olympics every time an athlete is interviewed after their race, and the interviewers ask this same question time and time again. They say, were you nervous? Were you nervous? How did you feel before the race? How did you feel? And they say, well, I was excited. And if you think about it, when you're nervous or scared of something, it has the same physical and mental attributes as being excited. So you can actually learn to flip fear into excitement. So it's a skill that I've learned to be able to go, right, fear has, your pulse rate goes up, you get butterflies in the tummy, your palms might sweat, you might tremor a bit, your voice shakes, your legs, your muscles. And it's the same as excitement. Think when you're going up, maybe you're going to go on a roller coaster or something that's really fun, or the morning, you wake up on the night before Christmas for kids, or the night before you're going to go on holiday, and you wake up and it's like you're really excited. It's the same as fear. So you just need to be able to have conscious control over your thoughts, and it's not allowing your subconscious to run the show, which it likes to do, and being able to consciously think. So I'm a huge advocate of conscious thinking. And that's why I've got my companies running. It's teaching kids to actually become independent thinkers, so that they can do these sorts of things. So yeah, my transition was the support network of my coaches, and through gymnastics, the coaches would set you goals. So you've got targets to aim towards, such as, I don't know, you want to learn a backflip, you've got to do this backflip in your routine, or a somersault, a twisting somersault, or a double somersault. And you've got these goals to aim towards, and they would break it down into easier moves and transition to get there. So the building blocks to do that final skill. And that is how you overcome the fear of the final skill. So you look at like a double back somersault, and it's like, wow, I do a double back somersault, but you learn first how to do a single back somersault. Before that, you learn how to do all the body conditioning and strength required to do it. So my coaches would constantly push me out of the comfort zone, because they can see the potential. You can't as the child. It's just like the scary skill.
Yes.
And they can see the potential. So it's teaching you in ways that you understand. So personalized learning, which I think is missing in our current school system. There's no personalization of learning. Everyone's treated in the same way, which is why our school system is hugely broken. But the coaches in the gym, we've all got this common purpose, right? We want to get good at gymnastics. We want to enter a competition. So yeah, goal setting, support from the coaches, having a coach, to know to see the bigger picture, because you can't as a child. And then support from my mum, my parents. My mum was the big sort of drive for me, with not just taxing me to and from gymnastics all the time, sort of 5-6 times a week when I was a teenager, when I didn't drive. But yeah, the reassuring you, when you were feeling low, and supporting you and letting you know that you can do this, reassuring your confidence and helping you on that journey. So instilling those skills.
And did she put you into those things because she recognized that you were introverted and that they would help you, or was that almost a side thing that she just thought, oh, it would be good for you to try theatre and gymnastics?
Sure. Do you know what? If you ask my mum, I'd probably say, I haven't actually asked her the question, but if you asked her, did you have an introverted child, she'd probably say no. Okay. I would cover it quite well. It's only through understanding psychology now as a grown up, and for what I've studied for my companies, understanding what being an introvert, an extrovert. I would say maybe I'm an ambivert in the middle. It's almost like I can turn it on or turn it off. My natural default is to not be in big social situations. I'm much better working, alone. I love building and growing my team and supporting the team, but social situations. So if you ask my mum, I think she'd say no, she didn't recognize it. She put us into gymnastics because I've got an older brother, 2 years older than me, Andrew, and she put us both into gymnastics to let off energy and steam, and
tire you out.
To tire us out, absolutely. We're climbing the walls at home, but it's a great thing because it does tire. I mean, I think if it was a diagnosis back when I was a kid, ADHD would be something that I would be diagnosed with. I was like a ball of energy, and I was very, very on the go. Still am now. I'm quite an energetic person. I'm very enthusiastic about what I do, but I know how to channel it now. I know how to put it into a social situation because I've learned these skills. But yeah, mum took us along. She did gymnastics as a kid. She competed. She became through taking me and my brother, she became a gymnastics coach. And it was actually mum that was one of my first gymnastics coaches at the first gym club that we started. It's like, can you help me coach this? And she's like, yeah, but I'm not going to be your coach forever. It's like, you've got to build a team. You've got to make this happen, stand on your own 2 feet. She was very, very, very much like that. Very, very good at helping us become independent. Through support, seeing that we, pushing us out of our comfort zones. Very supportive of me becoming a stuntman, and nurturing the path that she could see I was on.
Because that's what I was going to ask as well. So you'd gone through, gymnastics was obviously a really important part of your life, and it was, you were competing. You were then talking to the stuntman, and went down that route of registering and training to become a stuntman.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you were starting the Flair Gymnastics. You were starting that off because I think that those overlapped. So how did you decide to, did you ever think, I'm going to go to university, I'm going to go work in an office, or I'm going to go, be whatever? Or were you always heading down this, I shouldn't say unorthodox, because obviously there are other people, but you know what I mean? You were heading down this path of doing something that used your physical skills.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting to say it because, it's sort of socially accepted that you go to school and then you go to another school to learn to go to another school and learn to sit in a classroom in a row, learning facts to pass an exam. And it's a bonkers system. It really is. The school, the system is doing kids such a disservice in terms of the not recognising talents and abilities, what kids are naturally good or not good at, and just forcing them to do all these subjects that they don't like. So,
and different ways of learning as well.
Absolutely.
We all learn in such different ways.
Personalised learning is not in the school system. It's a very broken system. I actually did I'm very passionate about the school system. I did a TEDx talk about is our education system teaching us not to think? So I've got, if people are interested and want to hear that, they can find that online,
and I'll stick a link up to it.
Thank you, because I offer solutions in there. Like there are, I believe, independent thinking is the key, and there's ways to be able to get that into the system so that independent thought is there. And it's that fear piece, Deborah. You've got people are scared because you're saying unorthodox. Yeah, they're scared. It's like, no, this is the way people do it. You go to a university, it's like, yeah, but I really like acting and stunts and this. I went to my careers advisor. I went to an A-level college after school, and there were 3 subjects that I started with, biology, psychology, and PE at A-level. Now, I was not a naturally academic kid. I scraped through skin of my teeth 5 GCSEs to be able to get into a C grade, to be able to get into the college just by, luck and fluke to get in. I'm not academic at all. Didn't know any better. It's like everyone's going to college. You go to college. So went, I think for the first couple of weeks and thought, I can't cope on this psychology. I just academically wasn't me. Dropped out of the subjects, ended up, I was in the gym, I was doing gymnastics like 28 hours a week at that point, competing, nationally. And I ended up continuing with the...
By the way, for people listening, we are right by Farnborough Airport, and that sounds like a helicopter.
It's a helicopter coming in. I love it.
There may be some jets coming over at later points as well.
Likely. I love aviation. It's part of the reason we moved to this area. It's like I'm a real aviation geek. So
you're ideally placed.
Completely, yeah. Helicopters coming to land. Where were we? We were talking about the school system, weren't we? And the route. So I went into my careers advisor. I dropped out of these subjects. did do A-level PE, continued with that. It's the only, I was thinking, it was the only kid in the whole college doing one A-level. It was like, what for what reason? I don't know. Carried on with doing this A-level. I passed it. I got a B grade. I mean, sheer fluke. I mean, I only had one thing to do at school. You know, it's like you're one A-level, pretty easy. But I went to they had a careers advisor there. It's like, right, we've got an interview with the careers advisor. What do you want to do when you leave college? And I'd met these stunt guys by then. I said, well, I'd like to become a stuntman. And she just laughed at me. And she said, you can't do that. It's too difficult. It's very highly competitive. It's going to be, and I came away quite deflated. I'm like this 17-year-old kid. And it's like, I'd actually like to do that. These guys, I met some guys that are doing it. They're really enjoying it. They've shown, I'd like to do that. I think I could, no support whatsoever from the school. Researched it myself, looked into it, started connecting with people, started writing letters. We didn't really have like email as much back then, and like writing letters to people and finding out through the newspaper for a national diploma. It was the first year that they were doing this course at a place in London called the Circus Space, which was it's now called the National Centre for Performing Arts and Circus, and it's in Hoxton Square near Old Street Tube. And she found this advert for the first course they were ever doing in circus, and I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. And it was because of my age. I think I was 17. It was like it was free. I didn't have to pay. It wasn't like university. It was like otherwise it wouldn't have happened. We didn't have any money as kids. And I auditioned. I had to audition. There's lots of people that auditioned for a place, and I got a place at circus school. So,
which isn't surprising, actually, because given your gymnastics background,
right,
it sounds like it would be a perfect fit.
It felt it. I mean, I wasn't like a big circus fan, and I'll be honest, I'm not a huge circus fan today, but it seemed like a good stepping stone. And I met some amazing people that I'm still in touch with now that have gone on to do amazing things in the world of circus, Cirque du Soleil, and we've got a brilliant guy called Steve Faulkner. He's got this amazing online magic course and card course that he runs, and it just fantastic. Went on and joined the Magic Circle. Met some brilliant people that went on to do some great stuff there. And while I was there, I rejoined agencies, went off and got dance lessons and dance classes, so I could be more employable for jobs. Started getting back into TV commercials and started getting well. I was still training full time as a gymnast, so 28 hours a week in the evenings. I was in the mornings going to things like highball diving lessons at Crystal Palace. I had a motorbike that I used to get around on to get me in and out, because I lived in Sunbury on Thames and I had to commute across to sort of Old Street area in London, and it was a bit
which is a long way.
It was quick on the motorbike. Yes. It was about an hour in, I think, an hour and 10 in, an hour and 10 back, but great fun going through London on a motorbike. I used to love it. And then I'd go off and do highball diving lessons in the morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and do these before college or circus school, and then we'd go in and we'd have circus lessons. But still, because of the structure of the education system, for them to get this course through as a circus school, they still forced you into a classroom to study things like the history of circus and stuff I'd probably like studying now. But back then as a kid, I just wanted to get on high fly trapeze, the tight wire, learn how to eat fire and stilt walk and tumble and teeterboard. And we did all of that.
Can you do all of those?
Yeah, we got to try everything. It was so cool. They bring experts in to teach us all these different things. And then you'd find your niche in your second year, like what were you good at? And I was paired up with another ex-gymnast, and we were trapeze double. We did trapeze work, and we did high fly trapeze and cord release, and it was great fun. It really was. But they still pushed you into a classroom to do bits of academic stuff.
And was that because? And I think you just said it, that was because of the rules around it being a school.
It's so they could get it signed off on the skills network of, right, this is a diploma in performing arts and circus, and it had to go through, I think it was teamed up back then with East Berkshire College, because we had to go there for our sort of induction day to get our IDs and our passes, and it was all very formal. I remember it, and they bussed us out on the minibuses from London to this East Berkshire College to go and get our laminates. It was quite funny, but we were official members of East Berkshire College, but we were based in London. But no, we put on shows, end of year shows, our first ever assignment was a 3-ball juggling act. So you had to learn how to juggle, and then you had to create a character, and it was brilliant, and helped out a lot. And joined in a couple of agencies while I was there, and I got my first stunt double doubling Vic Reeves on a Mercury 1-to-1 commercial where Vic Reeves has a 1-to-1 with Terry Thomas, and I had to dive through Terry Thomas's mouth as Vic Reeves off a trampette. So yeah, it got me into that. I auditioned for stunt shows, and then during my summer holiday I went off and did a stunt show out at a theme park in Belgium called Wallaby. It was a James Bond stunt spectacular, and I was in that for 3 months, and then I'd come back to college, and by then my career in gymnastics was kind of coming to a bit of a natural end, really. It was like, right now I'm moving in, using those skills to come into the stunt world. And yeah, I also did pantomime. So I was with an acrobatic group called the Acromaniacs, and we went and did these trampette, tumbling, acrobatic acts within pantomime shows, and did a few of those. It was great.
Loads of variety and
yeah.
all action based.
Yeah.
And how did that convert to the business?
Sorry, that was your original question, wasn't it? Sorry. I know this is a business podcast.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Business
but
podcast.
It is,
yeah.
Because I think those different paths through are really important. So I went to university, and I remember my brother saying to me, "Why are you going to university?" And I said, "No, it'll be different." He said, "No, you hate school." So I was lucky that school was actually pretty easy for me. So, and I was just lucky in that, but I did not enjoy it or like it. And I said, no, it'll be different. And I hate to admit it, and hopefully he'll never listen to this. But he was right. I went to university, and it wasn't really any different. It was still studying, and I left after the first year.
Yeah.
And that was actually, for the things that I thought I could do or go down the route, was a big obstacle, because whenever I applied for anything, it's like, well, what's your degree? And I don't have a degree. And yet that doesn't actually affect your innate abilities. So I think these examples like you of coming through and going, actually, yes, I went to college and tried, but that really wasn't me. I've gone this route is so important for people to hear.
I was so lucky I found my path. I mean, and I'm not a big uni fan. Some people are naturally academic. I think school's really good if you're average. It's an average academic mind. If you're above average academically, then you're failed by the system. If you're below average academically, then you're failed by the system. And it's the same through to university. And the fact, universities are businesses. They are taking your money, and they are a business. I don't like the fact that universities think they are all things to all people. And it's like, we can do everything in courses. And I see some courses at university now in dance and drama and acting, and they're not niche for that. They might bring a few good teachers to the mix, but there's real specialist colleges like the Circus Space. There's some, amazing specific acting schools that will get you there, and dance academies, and dance centres. But university ain't the route if you want to go into the performing world. And
I think this is and I am a bit distant from these, but my perspective is that this is because it has become, you go to school, you go to college, you go to university, and so there's become a course for everything. And so suddenly you can do a degree in almost everything.
They're a business. They're diversifying their product base. It's like, wouldn't you, if you were selling, it's like, right, let's sell this product and this product, because that's what the way you got to look at it. But we're brainwashed as a society with the school system. It's compulsory for children to go to school unless you pull them out and homeschool them, and to go to these schools. And it's not great in my opinion if that's not your niche. So I think that comes down to parenting. You've got parents, they know deep down what you're good at, what you love, your path. I was so fortunate my mum was supportive of that, and she saw it and she nurtured it. And that's the duty of a parent, in my opinion, is to find that in a child and to help them niche as early on as possible, because we can't be good at everything. It's like going and studying 9 or 10 subjects at school, and even at A-level 3 subjects. It's like, no, niche. When you know what you love and you're passionate, as a young child, great, try everything, dip in and out of this and have a go. And still as adults, we love variety. It's great, but when you know, and you know that you know that you know, and your parents know this, your parents know you, they know you the best. That's when we have to support a child to help them with the stickability, the grit, to help them to become, to niche in something so that they don't become a jack of all trades, master of none. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing very watered down, and that you don't get good at something if you don't, just concentrate on that one thing. And I'm just so fortunate that I had, a really great mum.
No, exactly. And it sounds like she was there the whole time, basically saying, actually, yes. And I'll support you and I'll help you to do it. But also, as you've said, giving you that independence that, I'm not going to be there holding you up forever.
Oh, she wasn't. Trust me. She was great at that. It's like, get on with it. But back to your question. Sorry. So business. It's a business podcast.
And it's about that point, because we'll go through sort of later as well. But it's that you're doing all of this stunt stuff. You're doing the TV. You're doing all of this. And yet somehow at the same time, you started Flair running the gymnastics.
Yeah. So I was 2021 and I was training to become a stuntman, and it cost a lot of money to come, because of the training. It's like to do things like scuba diving, highball diving lessons were in today's money, probably 50 quid a pop for a one-to-one lesson. And, I was at college commuting across to run my motorbike. My first money earning bit was paper rounds when I was a kid, getting up, the discipline of getting up at 5:30 every morning and doing a paper. I actually did 2 paper rounds, so I could earn double the money. And it's like the discipline of that, I think, is fantastic for kids to do something like that. And then I had a Saturday job. I worked in the butchers, cleaning the blood off the walls. It was great fun. But the discipline of having a job as a kid and earning money is really, really important. And I just remember saving for my first motorbike, and it was like that, earning your own money. So, I was also doing gymnastics coaching. So I was coaching in at gymnastics clubs. I became a qualified gymnastics coach. So I was coaching at clubs. So that was an income stream for me. And I was so passionate about my coaching and wanting to pass it on and pass the skills on. I was like, why don't I set my own club up? I'd seen how my clubs that I was working at were running, and I literally approached my old primary school. I had no cash. I didn't have a marketing budget. I didn't even own a computer. My next door neighbour kindly put a flyer together for me. I mean, you look at the flyer now, it's not great quality, but it did the job. We did a flyer, and it literally said, my name is on this flyer. It says, I'm a gymnastics coach. I'm starting a gym club. If you want your child to come, put £20 in the post to me to this address. And that was how my business started. I went door to door with these flyers, put them up at local schools. I approached my local school to hire the space. I didn't have any equipment. I used theirs, and it wasn't very good equipment. I used their insurance. So I started with 0 money in. And we, literally on the first day, we had like 15 or 20 kids turn up. And, prior to that, they'd sent us money in the post. I was like, wow, this is cool. This is how this business thing works. So it was learning as we went. And then it was, I knew from my coaching exams that I had to keep registers, and there was various bits of health and safety that had to be kept, and insurance. And, there was some basics that I'd learned through my coaching. But in terms of learning business, it was like, well, to me, it was really straightforward. I was exchanging a service for cash. It was like, you want to learn classes, pay me cash, I'll coach you classes. Then I could coach groups of kids rather than one-to-one. And, the more kids that came through the door, the more cash flow would come through. And then it was like, right, I now need more coaches. So Mum did coach with me. Me and Mum running the sessions. First class was great. The kids loved it. And they went home and told their friends, and more people came, word of mouth marketing. I think Mum coached for like 1 term. That was the deal. It was like, I'll help you for a term. She was a qualified coach too. It's like, help you for a term. And then it's like, you're on your own. You've got to get coaches, which was a great lesson. It's like, that forced me to employ people. So now I'm learning about employing people and how that works. So I had friends that were gymnastics coaches, like, do you want to come and coach in the club? And Emma, we mentioned her about Kidz Impact. She was one of the very first coaches, and she's come back 20 years on.
So it can't have been very bad.
Well, no, she says that as well. It's like I won't speak for her, but we've had conversations, and she says some really fun, happy days of coaching. And we've got she recently came on one of our onboarding staff team Flair necessity training days to see how we now onboard the staff so that we can roll that out into Kidz Impact. So, and she loved it. It was great having her there. And she was telling the old stories about when we were coaching years ago, which was great because we talk about the heritage of the company and how it started like we're doing now with the coaching teams that come on board so that they understand where it started from and what they're part of and the journey. So I think it's important for them to know that stuff, to buy in. So yeah, started from nothing, grew, and then I was offered TV shows. I think it was pantomime that tipped it. It was this acrobatic troupe called the Acromaniacs. It's like, wait, there's this 3-month contract. Do you want it? And I was like, I need the cash. But I've got this gym running now. But what it did was force me to delegate from an early age, which was brilliant. So I learned the art of delegation and bringing trusting people with what I'd created. And I had to create documented systems to say, look, here's the lesson structure, the lesson plan. This is how the registers work. This is how the cash flow works. I had to know all that stuff without knowing, this is all business. This is business basics. Learned this stuff. And then I was teaching others how that works so that I could step out and go and do a show. So I'd stepped out, do a show, and before so I've got a business running and I'm doing a show. So I've now got 2 income streams. And
are you still at that point running it in the Sunbury school gym?
Oh yeah, we were there for like 6 years. It was until we grew, and then we'd go to like a second day and a third day, and then all my money I was earning I then joined the stunt register and started getting hit by cars and set on fire and jumping out of buildings.
Which is always fun.
It's always fun. It's always fun. And all the money I was earning from that was being reinvested back in. So we were buying equipment. We were one of the first gyms in the UK to import an air tumbling track back in.
What's an air tumbling track?
It's like a long inflatable bouncy castle stretched out, filled with air, and you tumble on it, but it's a bit firmer than a castle so that it helps with tumbling skills. Okay. But we would bring this cool equipment in from the US because no other clubs were doing it, and people were saying, "Wow, look what we're doing here." We were entering competitions and winning. The kids were entering competitions because we were teaching them right, and we were having great fun with it. The team was growing. We went to 4 days at Sunbury, so we had like 400 or 500 kids. Wow. Over like 80 to 100 kids a day in at the club, and we're entering regional competitions and winning and building a great team. So yeah, that was how I got the 2 things going side by side.
Okay, because I remember again when we spoke before that you'd said that you had to learn to delegate.
Yeah.
Now one of the other things that you'd mentioned was the fact that you realized, and I can't remember whether you said you realized this at the time or with hindsight, that you have to build a culture because one way or another your company is going to have a culture.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, did you have any problems in those initial stages where, as you were going off, doing the stunts and that's paying the money to help to expand? Did you have any problems with the culture of the company, or did it just naturally evolve with everybody actually being quite happy and bought into what you were trying to do?
Yeah, we spoke about something before, Deborah. Yeah, the culture is, you're going to have a culture in your company, whether it's by design or whether it's just by default. And it was hindsight. In short, it was like, right. I only learned this stuff probably 8-9 years ago in terms of needing to design your culture and design everything and how you want people to feel and be and act and in your company. I was really fortunate, like with people skills, I guess. I brought the right people in that were great, but there were some bad eggs along the way. People that would let us down, not turn up, demand more cash. We had cancellations of classes because kids, the coach wouldn't be there or this wouldn't happen. And yeah, we had our fair share of dramas. It was not smooth sailing. Sounds it, doesn't it, when you sort of look back and think, it was all okay. At the time when you're in it and you've got to cancel the class and you've got to refund customers, it's like, no. And someone's, a coach is demanding more money or wanting this or this is happening. Yeah. So we didn't get it right. We still don't get everything right. It's every day's a learn. But we're getting things a lot more right than we did back then. Yeah, it was completely by default, the culture, but knowing that is, learning through running the show, that culture is so important. And we do a whole onboarding training with the team now, and culture is by design, and we have our Flair necessities, which are service standards, and we have our values that we always hire based on values. So we're bringing the right people into the company, but it's very, very, very what's the word I'm looking for? It's by design. It's very, very designed. It's very, very matter of fact how we do things now, so that we get it right.
And do you think that all of that, in terms of being able to even have that structure in place, does go back to when you were saying, oh, shoot, I need money. I'm getting offered the opportunity to do this stunt work, which is going to bring me money. I need to write this down so that somebody else can do it while I'm not there. So do you think it all ties back to that initial setting up of the structure out of necessity?
Yeah.
Or did you again learn more about that as you went through?
With like systems, setting up systems.
Yeah, and the structure that you've now got in place.
Yeah, I mean, the systems, I've studied my own psychology, like, in depth over the years, and more so over recent years. So one of my default modes is mechanics. So like systems and processes, kind of my brain likes that. And I like creating. I'm a creator naturally. And then my second default, it goes to mechanic. So systems. So I guess I put I like doing lesson plans, and I liked putting the structure, and I liked it. The red map was there, and the blue map was this, how the gym is set up. So that was me just doing it through my own natural skill set, nobody really taught me that apart from through the coaching training. It was like, this is how you do a lesson plan. And then it's grown over the years, involved, and now we have, system manuals and documents and processes and workflows for things. And I took some business training as well, read an awful lot.
That brings us to the end of the first part of my conversation with Richard Dwyer. We'll be back with the second part in a separate episode. Just before we paused, Richard was talking about systems and process, and this ties in really well with my conversation with Jake Liddell of WP Aid. Jake and I are talking about automation because automation is one of the elements of the keynote speech that he's giving along with Richard Woods and Nell Optebeek at the Hampshire Business Expo on the 26th of February. Make sure that you keep an ear out for part 2 of my conversation with Richard Dwyer and for the bonus episode with Jake Liddell. There will also be a bonus episode with Nell Optebeek. Come along and join me on Stand 44 at the Hampshire Business Expo on the 26th of February. It's being held at the Farnborough International Exhibition Centre and is open from 9 till 4. You'll get a chance to try your hand at podcasting and just learn more about how you can get more intimate with your clients. Bridging Gaps, the business podcast, was produced by Deborah Levitt of Bridge Road Consultants Limited, with original music provided by Pete Dineley.
You've been listening to Deborah Levitt on Bridging Gaps, the business podcast.